Let's jump right into this explainer. We're breaking down the recent reports of consecutive U.S. military strikes on Iran. We're going to unpack the military actions, the strategic goals driving them, and crucially, what this giant geopolitical chess game actually means for your wallet. We'll take a structured look at exactly what's happening on the ground and in the markets, relying entirely on the latest broadcast reports and analysis. Part 1. The military escalation. We're starting with the breaking news straight out of U.S. Central Command. Reports are detailing 3 consecutive nights of fresh airstrikes. And these aren't just random targets, they are highly specific. The strikes have reportedly zeroed in on Iranian military infrastructure, specifically their coastal surveillance systems, along with their drone and missile capabilities. Central Command's stated goal here? They want to impose a massive cost on Iranian forces and fundamentally degrade their ability to launch attacks. To pull this off, the sheer scale of the U.S. military presence currently deployed in the region is just staggering. We're looking at a massive footprint. 15 warships and 2 full aircraft carriers remain stationed right there. Because of this massive security umbrella, commentators are pointing out that the southern route along the Oman coast is currently wide open and totally free for ships to get out safely. It's an absolute show of force designed to keep a tight grip on the surrounding waterways. Part 2. Guarding the Strait. In a recent interview, President Trump declared America's self-appointed role in securing this absolutely vital waterway. He stated that the U.S. is going to keep the strait open, even humorously suggesting they might be called the guardian angel of the strait. This signals a crystal-clear posture. The United States is officially taking ownership of the security in this specific maritime corridor. But attached to this new guardian angel title is a pretty bold proposal, charging wealthy nations a 20% reimbursement fee for that protection. The argument being presented here is that for years, the United States has been providing this global security basically for free. Now, the administration is making the case that since other nations using these protected shipping lanes are wealthy, they can't just expect this massive military undertaking to be pro bono anymore. So, the administration's immediate reported plan boils down to a 2-step approach. Step 1, reinstate the blockade and bring the heavy sanctions back into full effect. Step 2, slap on that new 20% fee to secure the region moving forward. It's a major pivot from purely military deterrence to a more monetized transactional approach to international security. Part 3. Broken deals and objectives. Right now, there are 2 totally distinct perspectives being used to justify these strikes. On one hand, you've got the hawks, who are arguing to go in and just finish the job militarily. But on the other side, you've got the dealmakers, the folks who originally pushed for a negotiated agreement. Interestingly enough, reports are indicating that even the dealmakers are currently aligned with the military action. They're arguing that if Iran won't agree to the proposed terms and actively violates the touchstones of the agreement, well, they have to be hit again to force compliance. And commentators claim the current strikes are a direct consequence of Iran violating those previously signed terms. Specifically, they're pointing to actions where Iranian forces harassed commercial shipping. They reportedly clipped oil tankers and made unauthorized attempts to toll ships passing through the strait. According to the analysis, the president essentially lost patience because the terms of the signed sheet were directly violated, which prompted the immediate return of the blockade. Military analysts are actually outlining a really clear sequence of events here. They suggest that the heavy decapitation strikes during the first couple of weeks of this operation were devastating enough to completely fracture the Iranian leadership. On the ground, this means a massive divide between the politicians who signed the deals and the military factions who actually hold the weapons. Analysts argue these rogue military factions are seeing their power slip away during peacetime. Their funding is drying up, and it's left them scrambling for cash through these illegal tolling attempts. It's being described as a huge miscalculation by fractured, desperate factions. Part 4. The Iranian reaction. Obviously, the Iranian response to all this escalating pressure is something we have to talk about. Commentators have flagged what they are calling an Iranian revenge list. Reports are indicating that Iran has explicitly named 3 Western leaders: French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and U.S. President Donald Trump. But analysts are pointing out a pretty stark irony here. I mean, Iran is reportedly seeking revenge against the U.S. president, who has obviously been very vocal and actually ordered the strikes, but they're also targeting European leaders like Macron and Starmer. Commentators are quick to note that Macron and Starmer are definitely not hawks. Historically, they're the very leaders who have pushed the hardest to make diplomatic deals with Iran, yet they somehow find themselves on the exact same revenge list. Part 5. Oil, Markets, and You. So, why is the Strait of Hormuz the primary objective for the U.S. military right now? Well, that's pretty simple. A full one-fifth, 20%, of the entire world's oil supply moves through this one single, very narrow channel. The entire global economy and the commercial shipping it relies on every single day fundamentally depends on this specific waterway remaining open and secure. And because global oil markets operate around the clock, they react instantly to any hint of instability. Following the reports of these consecutive strikes, global oil prices jumped roughly 9%. That is a highly significant reaction, and it just goes to show how wildly sensitive the global markets are to any threat against that 20% slice of the world's oil supply. This rising tension actually brought crude oil right up to $78 a barrel. Now, commentators did note this is still just below the $80 mark, but it happened right at a time when gasoline prices had previously been coming down. This reality hits home because it directly impacts the gasoline prices you see at your local pump. The instability threatens to make literally everything more expensive, which is exactly why there is so much focus right now on calming the markets down. Experts cited in the reports, including analysts like Dan Hoffman, argue that the overarching goal here is an incredibly delicate dual objective. On one hand, the strategy is to completely choke off Iran economically through the strikes and blockades, basically eliminating their ability to fund proxies and missile programs. But on the other hand, the U.S. has to simultaneously project enough confidence and security over those commercial shipping lanes to actually calm the global markets and stabilize prices. It's a massive balancing act, imposing severe economic costs on an adversary without accidentally inflicting economic pain on everyday domestic consumers at the gas pump. Which brings us to the ultimate question. With November elections approaching, commentators point out that the Iranians have likely read the art of the deal too. They know the American public might get pretty wobbly if gasoline prices just keep creeping up. So we are left with the massive question raised by experts. What exactly does long-term success look like here? When can the public actually breathe easy knowing oil prices are stable, the troops are safe, and the conflict is truly resolved? It's a hugely complex situation with massive economic stakes, and how it all unfolds in the Strait of Hormuz will absolutely impact every single one of us. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope this deep dive helped clarify the headlines for you.